Okay, so it looks like I'm back. Where did I leave off? Okay, so it was this one evening where, my mom went to go exercise and I didn't want to go because that particular night, I remember it distinctively because that was when Fairly Odd Parents was first coming out. I'm not really all that old, despite how it may look, but and I didn't want to miss that. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna watch this, right? Maybe I shouldn't have stayed at home. And that's where he came in the room and proceeded to, perform oral sex again, which left me feeling really, really disgusting. And at this point, after, this has been a couple of times beyond this point, I thought about committing suicide at 7 years old. But I just didn't know exactly how to attempt that. And, the actual suicide attempts didn't come till years later, but I guess I'll digress on that. So it was one particular night. I remember it distinctively. I was, for some reason, like me and my young brother, we fell asleep on the floor in the living room. And I don't know, what did we get done watching? It was something. But we wound up overeating and went to sleep. And at some point, and I did not realize it, he got up and he left me. And it was really, really dark in the house. I'm talking about extremely dark. And I remember um, earlier that night, he had made both me and my brother like some sort of weird milkshake, and he put what looked like a pill in it. And when I asked, was that medicine? He said it was a vitamin, but okay. And he was like, oh, well, you need to take your vitamin or whatever. And I'm like, okay, when do I ever take vitamins? I mean, I barely had like the Flintstone chewables. And, anyway. And I was wondering, well, why didn't you give my brother no vitamin? And he was like, well, it's a girl vitamin. And I was like, well, okay. But anyway, let me forward back to where I was. So I remember this blanket, and it's the same green blanket as before. As till today, if you give me a green blanket right now, I'll probably throw it away. I do not want any green blankets just because of this. No, but anyway, I remember the blanket being pulled off, and I remember it. See, it was kind of like I was zoning in and out. It's kind of like I remember bits and pieces. So I remember the blanket being pulled off. Then I remember like something going inside of me and hurting really bad. I'm talking about my whole everything was hurting. I remember feeling that, then coming into again, and he was still on top of me, and then passing out, and then coming into again, and the pants that I had on were not on. And I was laying there awkwardly on the floor, sore, and was not really aware of what just happened to me. I just know that I was really sore. So at this point, well, fast forward a bit, I was in third grade. And I bet a lot of you wonder, well, why didn't you tell your mom, blase, blase, woo, woo. But what people don't realize is when you go through something like this, I mean, it's easier for some than it is others. Everybody says that all the time. Well, why didn't you just tell your mom? Why didn't you tell this, that, and the third? Not everybody can do that. And I was one of those people. I could not do it. I could not do it. I was afraid. I just couldn't do it. So we'll fast forward a bit. I was in third grade, and excuse me, I just burped. I'm sorry. Um, it was this one particular morning. I had got fed up with everything, and I wound up telling my I wound up being at PE, as a matter of fact, and I just couldn't take it. I couldn't think. Like, I was sitting there, I couldn't spell my name. I couldn't focus on tests. And like, my grandpa, he used to make me, because he was a huge fan of like Bluebell ice cream and everything. So he would make me ice cream cones, and it got to the point to where I couldn't eat the ice cream cones anymore because I felt like I was molesting the ice cream cones. No matter how crazy that sounds, that's just how I felt at the time. So every time he would make me one, I would take them outside and like either bury them in his backyard or throw them to the dogs, or somewhere to where he couldn't find it because I couldn't eat it. So anyway, I was sitting here, I was at PE, and it was just eating at me, eating at me, eating at me, eating at me. And I had told my PE teacher, I'll never forget him, and I'm not gonna call his name out on this video. I don't want to sit here and expose anybody per se. Um, and I told him, I was like, I have to, go see the counselor. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, well, I just have to tell her something. And he was like, well, I'm not gonna let you go until you tell me what it is. So when I started explaining it, he gave me this look of like pure horror. I'll never forget it. And he was like, you know what? Don't say nothing else. He was like, go. Just go. So ironically, when I was after I got done telling my counselor everything, the events that took place, and I told her don't tell anyone, and she was like, I have to, and I was like, oh shit, this is what I'm feeling on the inside. Like, oh shit. So I happened to be walking from the counselor's office, and I was about to go back to PE, and I happened to see, I happened to see this person, and it was ironic, and I was so scared. I was like, what did they do? Call him or something? What it was, he happened to have to come up to the school that day because my younger brother, was in like kindergarten at the time, and he needed a change of clothes, so you kind of fill in the blanks there. So the assistant principal, it was a female. I remember this distinctively. She walked out of the office, like she stood there and she took a look at him and took a look at me, and she was like, you should be ashamed of yourself. So he looked at me and he was like, Mercedes, what the hell is she talking about? I was like, I don't know. Yes, I did. I'm not gonna tell you. Whatever. So I went back to PE, and then I was like, in the midst of me being, so afraid but somewhat relieved, I had to go to the bathroom. So I went back out to go back to the bathroom, and he was still sitting there. So I waited in the bathroom for a while because I just wanted him to leave. I just wanted him to leave because it was I had a mixed feeling of a relief, but like a horrible feeling, like at the pit of my stomach, because I didn't know what to expect next. So, um, what happened after that? I want to say, did we get off the bus? It was something. Did my grandpa? I want to say my grandma came. That's what it was. Um, Me and my brothers had got off the school bus, and my grandma had picked us up, from our house or whatever. And so she's like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Because that particular day, he had the car and he took my mama to work. So, which made my grandma have to get the car and then go all the way to where, my mom was working at the time to go pick her up. So, apparently I learned later that they had gave her a call at her job and told her that. And, you know, I'm not gonna just say, oh well, because it wasn't that. I mean, I didn't want it to come out in a workplace, because if you're at work and somebody tells you something like that, I know that just probably fucks up your whole day, right? So in the midst of this, I had to stay, with my grandparents for a while. And what was it? I was my grandma. I remember this distinctively, and this is something that I don't understand in, black households. Like, everybody wants to sweep things under the rug instead of letting the issues clear out. So my grandma had told me distinctively, why don't you tell them that you dreamed it or you watched some type of movie or something like that? But come on now. Seriously. Just so it can be swept up under the rug. I don't understand that. You want to sit here and keep these perverts safe. I don't know if it's the save face or reputation or whatever it is, but you're more worried about your so-called, reputation as opposed to the safety of your grandchild, your child, niece, nephew, whatever the case is. I'm not understanding that, but I digress on that. So, so she kept asking me over and over and over and over and over and over again, did this really happen? Blah, 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 blah. Kind of like she's trying to brainwash me, I feel. And I remember my grandpa at the time, I remember this distinctly. I was sitting at the table and I was eating, and he was like, he asked me one time, and I looked him in the eye. He's like, are you telling the truth? And I said, yes. So he told my grandma. He was like, I'm not going to say my grandma's name either, but he was like, don't ask her that no more. Until this day. And I'm 24 years old now. She's never asked me again. But anyway, that's just kind of an overview, because if I sat here and I got in a detail, it would be way more long than it needed to be. But I just felt like I should share this story in hopes of, maybe someone out there who has never told anyone or is going through it currently, to give you some type of words of encouragement, and let you know that you're not the only one, you're not going through it alone, all of that good stuff. So I hope my tidbit of a story was helpful to someone somewhere. But to give a brief overview of life beyond then, from that point on, it was many suicide attempts. I was extremely depressed. I've had bad relationships with men. I really don't have too many friends because I have trust issues. I don't trust people, you know, things like that. And it also had me trying to look for, love in all the wrong places. But anyway, I guess that's all I really have to say for now. I hope this was somewhat helpful. I was actually really nervous to do this, but I'm kind of glad that I did. So I guess all I can say is take care. And in the midst of this video somewhere, even though this doesn't really have anything to do with anything, ignore my nails. Don't talk about